Which is okay as an author, he gets to do that.
Right.
Until it comes to us and I go, oh, I don't think so. Oh, I don't think so, John. But John, go ahead. Let's, here we have Mr. Jon Klement.
All right, well, this book actually kind of started here at the Gateway Center at Archon 2009 back in October. I had the wild, crazy idea to hit up the Black Pigeon folks with the idea that, hey, you know, have you ever thought about putting like a Dragonlance or a Forgotten Realms type novel in the Hacktastic world? And they had thought about it, you know, of course they had, especially, you know, Craig Slate, the master marketer, you know, trying to find a way to sell Hacktastic ice cubes to Hacktastic Eskimos. But, yeah, he said it's true, I would. But, so it actually started here. They liked the idea, they were kind of familiar with my previous books and stuff, and so they wanted some sample chapters, and so I went home and had to figure out what the heck am I going to write. Now they accepted it. So, but I like to think in terms of Joe Q Gamer, because we've all been Joe Q Gamer. Just put your mind in the eyes of a typical customer. They walk into a game store and you see a fantasy game, and we all know, I mean, I was born in 1971. I've been playing Dungeons & Dragons since I was 11 years old. I'm 39 now. So, you know, we all know that things come and go. And fortunately, when Dungeons & Dragons started having different editions and people got kind of upset at the new editions, that kind of opened the door for other games to come in. So, so what is it that would tell Joe Q Gamer, if they're in a game store, they pick up the Hacktastic core book, what's going to tell them that this is really its own rich, unique game, and not just a D&D knockoff? What's going to separate Hacktastic, you know, what's going to show the guy that the Joe Q Gamer or Jane Q Gamer out there that the cream rises and this isn't your typical game? Well, the first thing on the surface when you flip through the core book is those races, the Trulks and the Widgets and the Fari and the Mirror, and I thought, okay, well that's right on the surface, that's pretty unique. So I thought about, let's base it around the races. And the other thing that went into it was anybody who's read the core book and can do a little math, we all know that the Mirror race is doomed, isn't it? And the Mirror, they reproduce once, once in their life. It happens in their 50th year. So for every Mirror that dies before they reach it, that's okay. So even if they all live to be age 50, that's replacement reproduction, and they're not expanding. And then if they die before they reach age 50, for everyone that dies before age 50, that's the race is one step closer to extinction. So I thought, okay, there's this problem there that that you know you just know that there's some plot there, there's some story that can be told around that. So I took the two ideas of the races and the Mirror extinction problem and kind of wove a story arc, the trouble with Trulks, the ways of Widgets, and ending on the mystery of the Mirror, kind of to weave through everything that's hacktastic about this world. So things start with the Trulks, move on to the Widgets, wind up with the Mirror. Now let's see here. Oh, I had my finger in the right spot. Okay, now out of this whole book, I'm trying to figure out what would I read. Can't read the whole book to them, but just to give you an idea of what's coming. And there's also places here where, with Eric's permission, of course, I lifted some of the description straight out of the core book for some of the races. When Trulks are first introduced, when Mirrors are first introduced. So those of you who've read the core book, you might recognize a few of these sentences, but this kind of gets into the whole idea of the Mirrors trying to solve their problem. The criers in the streets here in Auckland are already drawing throngs to hear the news, Phineas said to the 5 crystal balls before him. Your cities will soon be abuzz with the news as well. Gentis, the reigning arena champion, has been slain. That would be news enough all by itself. The fact that his corpse turned out to be that of a Mirror is on the verge of causing a small panic. Although the other merchant princes' faces in their crystal spheres looked sympathetic for the loss of Phineas's offspring, George scoffed in derision. If your progeny had taken his Mirror discipline seriously, instead of hounding glory and the adoration of the masses, he would not have reverted forms upon death. That remark stung Phineas. It was true that disciplined and properly prepared mirror could hold their disguised form even in death. It was a serious implication that Phineas had been a poor progenitor parent. The mirror, the mysterious shape changers who were the boogeymen of many children's stories throughout the known world, were hermaphroditic. Each mirror produced only a single offspring in its lifetime, giving birth near their 50th year of age. Mirror reared and raised their offspring for a period of 20 years called the sculpting, during which the parent taught its offspring to use and hone its abilities. During the sculpting, the two mirrors shared all emotions, experiences, and thoughts until the 20th year, when the link was forever severed and the offspring left to make its way in the world. Usually a new mirror was a younger twin copy of its progenitor parent in every way, including personality and temperament. Only after years apart from the influence of the sculpting did mirror develop their individuality. Gentis had been different from the beginning, however, taxing Phineas's patience in a way about which he had often heard human parents complain when their children in the teenage years turned out to be strong-willed and defiant. Phineas remembered the disguise he had worn during the years he had been raising Gentis, that of a middle-aged human woman. Fortunately, he had found a blind, nearly deaf, rich old man to marry. In return for caring for the old man in his fading years, Phineas, or Felicia, as he had been known in that life, had been above the financial working class and had a private mansion in which to raise the young rebellious Gentis. Gentis's blind and deaf stepfather had barely noticed anything unusual going on in the house, despite Gentis's flamboyance and propensity for pranks and other attention-getting stunts. Phineas smiled. He remembered several times the household servants had resigned over some prank played by Gentis, as unbeknownst to them, the teenage mirror had used their forms for shape-shifting practice and placed them in socially delicate situations which they could not remember afterwards because they had not actually been there. Perhaps Gentis had not been the only mirror with an unusual personality, Phineas had thought. Phineas had an urgent passion for solving the mystery of his people, fueled by the sense that they were doomed. With only one replacement reproduction in the 50th year of life, simple math sentenced the species to eventual extinction by attrition. Just like the embers in the fireplace in the dark room where he now sat, with time the mirror people would fade away. So Phineas had broken with the normal mirror tendency to be a recluse. His plan had been simple. By replacing the merchant princes and taking over the most powerful country in the known world, the conspirators would have the resources to plumb the depths of all historical knowledge. The most learned sages could be employed. No library's contents would be off limits. Expeditions to the farthest corners of the world map could be financed. If there was an answer that would save their species, they would be able to find it.